The early morning of 6 April 1941 would become one of the darkest in Belgrade's long history. Without warning, the city's peaceful skyline was replaced by the roar of engines as waves of German bombers approached from the north. In minutes, explosions thundered across the capital. Belgrade was burning, its streets struck again and again by the Luftwaffe in a devastating assault. The German operation, chillingly named Unternehmen Strafgericht, Operation Retribution, had begun. But this invasion did not emerge from nowhere. The Balkans in early 1941 were a region under mounting pressure, squeezed between fascist ambition and the global storm building across Europe. The Second World War had erupted on 1 September 1939, and by 1941, Adolf Hitler was determined to secure every flank before launching his greatest gamble, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Germany's ally, Fascist Italy, had attempted to conquer Greece months earlier, but instead of a triumphant victory, Italian forces were pushed back and humiliated. Greece's resistance shocked the Axis powers and opened a dangerous possibility for Berlin, British troops gaining a firm foothold in southeastern Europe. To Hitler, this was unacceptable. Any threat along the southern route could endanger the eastern campaign he was preparing. To eliminate this risk, Germany rapidly sought to strengthen its hold over the region. Yugoslavia, despite internal divisions, was pressured relentlessly by Berlin. On 25 March 1941, its government reluctantly joined the Axis alliance, agreeing, at least on paper, to allow German divisions passage toward Greece. But this diplomatic victory for Hitler proved fragile. Major segments of the Yugoslav population, especially in Serbia and Montenegro, viewed the agreement as nothing short of betrayal. Demonstrations erupted, and political instability exploded into a full government crisis. Within days, the Yugoslav leadership tried to distance itself from the pact, hoping to calm public anger without provoking Germany. It was too late. In Hitler's eyes, this hesitation was treachery. On the evening of 27 March, enraged by what he saw as defiance, he ordered the full-scale invasion of Yugoslavia. What followed was swift and merciless. On 6 April, the combined forces of Germany, Italy, Hungary, and Bulgaria launched a coordinated attack. German mechanized divisions cut through Yugoslav defenses with overwhelming speed. Italian forces pushed from the west, Hungarian troops advanced from the north, and Bulgarian units occupied the south. Within just 11 days, on 17 April, the exhausted and outmatched Yugoslav army surrendered. The entire country was carved apart and placed under Axis occupation. Montenegro, previously under Italian control, fell even deeper into turmoil after Italy's surrender in 1943. The Germans quickly filled the vacuum, bringing with them brutal counterinsurgency operations aimed at crushing the growing Yugoslav partisan resistance. As German authority tightened, new alliances emerged. Some local elements, from royalist Chetnik units to certain nationalist groups, chose collaboration, either out of ideology, survival, or ethnic tension. The storm that began with bombs falling over Belgrade would, in time, unleash some of the most horrifying civilian atrocities of the First Balkan War, none more infamous than what awaited the small Montenegrin village of Velika. By mid-1944, the Balkans had become a battleground of desperation. The Axis empire was shrinking, the Eastern Front was collapsing, and Yugoslav partisans, once scattered guerrillas, had grown into a formidable force. Nowhere was this shift more visible than in the rugged mountains of northeastern Montenegro, where the German army clung to rapidly thinning lines of defense. After the Italian surrender in 1943, German commanders rushed into the region to prevent a complete loss of control. Suppressing local resistance became a priority, especially along the Lim River, where partisans had secured a strategic stretch of territory. To crush this momentum, the Germans launched a punitive military campaign in July 1944, an operation they named Draufganger, Daredevil. The objective was simple yet ruthless: eliminate partisan footholds, burn out anyone who might support them, and terrorize civilians into submission. The operation centered around the small town of Andrijevica, a place surrounded by forested hills and scattered villages, ideal ground for guerrilla fighters, but a nightmare for occupying armies.
To execute Draufganger, German forces brought together a brutal combination of units. At its core were seasoned Wehrmacht soldiers, but they were soon joined by a notorious formation, the 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg. Formed only months earlier in Kosovo, this division was composed largely of local ethnic Albanian volunteers. Many of its recruits saw the German advance not as occupation, but as an opportunity to pursue nationalist ambitions in a fractured region.
Also participating were smaller auxiliary groups, local militias, Albanians from border villages, and individuals motivated by ethnic tensions that had simmered for generations. The Germans exploited these divisions skillfully, using local knowledge to navigate the mountainous terrain. As the operation unfolded, the advancing forces left a trail of destruction. One village after another was set ablaze. Homes were torched, livestock slaughtered, and terrified families forced to flee into the forests. By the time the fighting reached its peak, at least 16 villages had been burned to the ground, and several hundred civilians had been killed in acts of retaliation disguised as military necessity. Despite this scorched earth campaign, Operation Draufganger failed. Partisan units, far more resilient than the Germans anticipated, regrouped and counterattacked fiercely. By late July, German forces had suffered a significant defeat, and their foothold in the region was weakening. But military failure did not soften their fury. Humiliated and frustrated, the German command sought an outlet, someone to blame, someone to punish, and they chose the worst possible target: the civilians of Velika, a peaceful village near Andrijevica that had played no direct role in the operation. The decision was no military necessity. It was an act of vengeance. The task of carrying out this retaliation was assigned to two of the most feared units in the Balkans: the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division, Prinz Eugen, infamous for its cruelty toward civilians; elements of the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division, already responsible for widespread terror in Kosovo and Montenegro. Together, these forces were about to unleash a massacre that would stain the history of the region for generations. The sun had barely risen on 28 July 1944 when the quiet village of Velika found itself surrounded. The people of this peaceful Montenegrin community had heard whispers of destruction, rumors of villages burned, of troops moving through nearby valleys, but few imagined that they would become the next target of vengeance. As the morning fog lifted, the attackers entered Velika with a chilling sense of purpose. The units assigned to this operation were among the most brutal in the region. The 7th SS Prinz Eugen Division, hardened through years of anti-partisan warfare, and soldiers from the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division, whose reputation for cruelty toward civilians was already well known. What followed was not a battle, it was an extermination. The assault began swiftly. Groups of soldiers spread across the village, moving from house to house with military discipline. Homes were set ablaze one after another, flames rising into the sky as families inside screamed for help. Anyone attempting to flee was met with bullets, bayonets, or the butt of a rifle. The elderly, unable to run, mothers hiding with children, infants held in panicked arms. None were spared.
Survivors would later speak of scenes almost too horrific to repeat. One of them was Milanka Vucetic, who witnessed the torment of her 3-year-old cousin, Tomislav, a child whose innocence became a symbol of the village's suffering. She described approaching a group of soldiers from the Skanderbeg unit with bread and salt, traditional signs of welcome, hoping it might calm the situation. Instead, she saw Tomislav playing in the olive grove nearby. In seconds, soldiers seized him. What they did next defied every notion of humanity. Milanka's screams echoed across the village as she watched the child tortured and killed, followed soon by the murder of his desperate mother who tried to protect him. Her testimony remains one of the most haunting accounts of the massacre. Another witness, Radoje Knežević, only 11 at the time, recalled watching his entire family perish. His mother, Stoyanka, was killed and her body burned. His 2 brothers, one barely old enough to walk, met the same fate. His sister Raba died trying to shield them. For Radoje, childhood ended in that moment, replaced by memories he would carry for the rest of his life.
Divna Vucetic, another survivor, remembered sensing danger before the attack. She had already sent 2 of her older children into the woods. Holding her 1-year-old son, she faced soldiers who entered her home. A man speaking her language fluently told her coldly, "Germany has its own bread," moments before firing at her. She survived her wounds, but her baby died in her arms. The massacre lasted nearly 2 hours. 2 hours in which generation after generation of families were erased. When the killing finally ceased, Velika was unrecognizable. Over 428 civilians were dead, many burned alive in their homes. Entire bloodlines vanished in a single morning. Smoke drifted over the mountains as the SS units moved on, leaving behind ruins, ash, and silence. German reports would later describe the operation as a, quote, success, proof of their disregard for the humanity of those they murdered. But for the people of Velika, the memory became a wound passed down through families, a tragedy whispered from one generation to the next. In the aftermath of the massacre at Velika, the SS units involved marched away, believing their crimes would remain buried beneath the chaos of war. But the world was changing swiftly around them. The German war machine, once seemingly unstoppable, was now crumbling under the combined weight of the Allies and the relentless advance of the Red Army. And in this unraveling, the divisions responsible for the horrors in Montenegro began to fall apart from within. The 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg, which had participated directly in the attack, was already showing signs of implosion. Formed only months earlier in 1944, it had faced endless problems, poor discipline, widespread looting, and constant desertions. Many of its recruits had joined not out of loyalty to the Nazis, but out of local ambitions or ethnic rivalries. Once the tide of war shifted, their willingness to fight for Germany evaporated. Their commander, August Schmidhuber, grew increasingly frustrated. Reports from the period reveal his exasperation as he blamed his own Albanian troops for indiscipline and a lack of courage. According to his own bitter assessment, these men would advance only as far as there was something to steal, and no further. By the autumn of 1944, the division was considered a failure by the SS High Command. On 1 November 1944, Heinrich Himmler officially dissolved the Skanderbeg Division. What remained of its German and ethnic German members were transferred to another infamous formation, the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division, Prinz Eugen. This division had a long history of brutality in the Balkans. It had been formed from ethnic German volunteers living in Yugoslavia, Romania, and Hungary, people with knowledge of the terrain and, in many cases, local grievances that the Nazis could exploit. Schmidhuber, despite commanding a collapsing division known for atrocities, received a promotion in January 1945 to SS Brigadeführer und Generalmajor der Waffen-SS, a rank equivalent to a brigadier general. At the same time, he took command of the Prince Eugen Division itself, which now carried the grim legacy of both units. Under Schmidhuber's leadership, Prince Eugen continued to act with a ruthlessness that had already defined its reputation. In Split and Dubrovnik, two cities in present-day Croatia, reports of war crimes escalated as German forces carried out harsh reprisals during their retreat. The division was part of Army Group F, tasked with slowing the unstoppable advance of Yugoslav partisan armies and Soviet troops pushing into the Balkans. But by early 1945, German defeat was inevitable. As Berlin prepared for its final stand, the remnants of the Prinz Eugen Division attempted one last maneuver for survival. In the second week of May 1945, they retreated northward through Bosnia and Croatia, hoping to surrender to British or American forces rather than face partisan justice. Their march ended in the Slovenian town of Celje on 10–11 May, mere days after Germany's official capitulation. There, with no remaining escape routes, the surviving soldiers surrendered, unaware that their fate had already been sealed. What followed would become one of the least discussed, yet most brutal episodes of the war's end. A mass execution carried out not by the Nazis, but by the victorious Yugoslav forces. When the remnants of the 7th SS Prince Eugen Division surrendered in Slovenia in May 1945, many believed they had secured a lifeline. They had thrown down their weapons before the Yugoslav People's Army, hoping that, as ordinary soldiers, they would be sent to prison camps or screened before being released, as Marshal Tito himself had ordered. But the Yugoslav commanders on the ground had their own ideas. For the men who had participated in massacres across Montenegro, Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia, a reckoning was coming, swift, silent, and without anything resembling a court. Beginning on 11th May 1945, thousands of captured SS members were processed, separated, and marched away in groups. Some were taken to abandoned quarries, others to forest clearings, and many to old riverbeds where the ground was soft enough to dig quickly. Testimonies and later investigations revealed a grim pattern. The prisoners were stripped, tied together with rope or wire, and shot in groups large enough to fill an entire trench in minutes. Their captors rarely kept records. For decades, the truth of what happened remained a whispered secret, known only to local villagers and a handful of surviving partisan soldiers. It wasn't until 2010, 65 years after the war, that a major discovery confirmed what had long been suspected. Near the Slovenian village of Prinz, archaeologists uncovered a massive grave containing the remains of roughly 2,000 soldiers of the Prince Eugen Division. Their bodies were tangled together, many bound with old telephone wire. The grave suggested a rapid, large-scale execution carried out shortly after their surrender on 22 May 1945. It was one of dozens of mass graves uncovered in Slovenia and Croatia, remnants of the chaotic and violent winding down of the war in the Balkans. Meanwhile, the highest-ranking officer involved in the massacre at Velika met a different fate. August Schmidhuber, the man who had commanded the Skanderbeg Division and later led the Prince Eugen Division, was captured by Yugoslav forces on 11 May 1945, just days after his troops surrendered. Unlike his soldiers, he was not executed on the spot. Instead, he was transferred to Belgrade, where he faced a military tribunal on charges of ordering massacres, deportations, and a wide range of atrocities across the region. During the trial, survivors from several villages, including Velika, testified about the brutality of his forces. Schmidhuber denied direct responsibility, claiming his subordinates acted independently, but the court rejected his arguments. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. In February 1947, the man whose divisions had left a trail of devastation across the Balkans was hanged in Belgrade. Yet his execution did not mean closure for the families of Velika. Many perpetrators at lower ranks escaped punishment entirely. Some fled to Austria or Germany, blending into the millions of displaced people at the war's end. Others re-entered civilian life in their home regions, never answering for the crimes they committed that July morning in 1944. The tragedy of Velika remains one of the darkest chapters of World War II in the Balkans. Approximately 1.2 million people died in Yugoslavia during the conflict. Over 581,000 of them civilians. Velika's loss was a small piece of this staggering human cost. Yet for the families of the victims, it was an entire world erased. Today, memorials stand in the village, where names of the victims are etched into stone. Every year, descendants gather to remember, and to remind the world that what happened in Velika was not just a footnote in a global war, but a human disaster whose weight still echoes through generations. History holds many untold stories, some buried, some forgotten, some waiting to be rediscovered. If you want more powerful, rarely discussed chapters from the past, stay with us, because the truth is often more dramatic than anything you could imagine.